Hi everyone, I'm Josh.
And I'm Jim, and this is the Dapper Meeple.
This show is about our love of gaming, the games we play, and the gaming community around this passion.
So grab some snacks, pull up a chair, and join us at the table with your monocle and bowler hat. Hey kids, remember, this is an adult podcast and may contain adult language.
Also, the Dapper Meeple outfit, not required. Alright guys, we're back, and D&D isn't the only one celebrating the big 5-0.
Yeah baby, the Dapper Meeple has made it to our 50th episode.
Fresh from GenCon, we have stories and games, and we're going to tell you all about them.
We'll also update on the Hex & Co. union struggle up in New York, and Asmodee shepherding LEGO into the game design space.
All that and more on this episode.
Hey, we almost forgot. We're doing a giveaway, so stay tuned till the end for all of the awesome prizes.
Or you can skip the episode if you're really a monster.
And now, on with the show. All right, we're back. We made it to episode 50, and honestly, I can't believe that they're still letting us do this. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, go ahead and do it. This is why all the white dudes over 40 are doing it. Nobody is here to stop us.
The podcast police will not come get you. Don't worry. But the Pinkertons might if you infringe on Wizards of the Coast. I'm just saying.
We're going to talk about that later on, I'm sure. I'm not going to be happy till I get a cease and desist letter from Wizards of the Coast, honestly.
I think there's a few people on that list, like
right?
Your best friend, right? We'll get there eventually.
The list is long but distinguished. So, hey, you guys made it to episode 50, or you found episode 50, and really, no, that's not the right one. So we got some new sound equipment. We'll be trying some of that out as we go along. What has been going on since we left? It's been a lot. We did get to go back to GenCon, which is always a time.
Yeah, it was fantastic this year. Huge sold out crowds. Almost all the badges were gone. They had the signs out front. Ton of people there. Felt a lot like last year, maybe a little bit more, but we'll get into that. There's been a lot of good things happening, board game news and stuff. We've missed a lot.
We have, because we have lives and we're not getting paid for this yet. But if you guys think you would support a Patreon, tell your friends and let's all give us some money. I could do this full time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about what has been going on. And some big news that we thought was great was LEGO signing with Asmodee.
So LEGO partnered with Asmodee and created a new design studio called Dotted Games based out of Denmark. They are rolling out their first new game, which I saw right before we recorded. Rodney Smith has his how to play video on it. The game itself is called Monkey Palace. So in it, you use Lego pieces to build up this palace. You have an adorable little Lego monkey in it. It looks pretty cool. I'm interested to see Lego get into the board game design space. They said that it's something they've been wanting to do since pre-COVID, but COVID shut down a lot of some of their plans, but they're definitely excited to get in on it. And it just makes the Asmodee conglomerate that much bigger.
Which, I don't know how good that is. I feel like that might lead into one of the symbols of the apocalypse later on.
It might be on your bingo card. I don't know.
We'll have to check. So are they using the classic Lego monkey, or did they make a new Lego monkey?
I think it's a new Lego monkey because it looks bigger than the one that came with like the pirate ship, and it's got like a much nicer face. I think it looks slightly different, but I could be wrong. Maybe we'll post a picture of them side by side and you can decide which monkey looks better. But yeah, so that is actually set to debut at Essen, if I'm not mistaken, later on in October of this year. They are already, of course, putting out promotional videos and stuff. Like I said, Rodney Smith's got his video out on it already, so you can learn how to play it. But I think it is going to be a partnership that they debut there. So I'm just interested to see what new stuff they're able to come up with out of that. I think LEGO has a very unique design space, especially with their kind of diving into things like Dungeons and Dragons with the set this year.
Yeah.
Of course, they've always been making a lot of money off of Disney IPs, with the Avengers and even like the traditional castle that's huge.
Oh,
Star Wars, of course.
I was going to say their Star Wars kits are like just renowned.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a bunch of really cool stuff that Lego's already doing. So I'm interested to see if any of those IPs carry over. Because you have the Lego video games. So
Sure,
like
yeah.
Lego Batman, Lego Star Wars, which were not terrible. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a Lego Star Wars board game before long.
I know they've been around since what, like early 1900s, and have survived this long and just are such a name when it comes to the toy industry.
Yeah.
For them to be doing a crossover into board games, I think, again, speaks to how big our industry is getting.
Yeah.
And how much attention it is getting from a lot of other names out in the play space.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, from great partnerships to union struggles, we're going to talk about GenCon. They were the gaming cafes in New York. There were 3 different cafes. I think they were owned all by the same company. And we had talked about it before, where the workers had come together and formed a union and now are in the process of negotiating with the owners of the company. Big surprise. That's not going well.
Yeah, this originally came out about a year ago now. They've been in constant talks with the owners. There was actually a news story that came out that the owners basically told them to go to hell, that they weren't going to negotiate. There was that. But in current news, they just formed a walkout at the 3 GENCON locations in New York that happened this past weekend, Saturday, August 31st.
Looking on their Instagram with the pictures that they posted, first of all, gamers make some fire protest signs.
Yeah, you can't pay us in Monopoly money. Like, come on.
Hoarding is never a good plan with a big picture of a dragon on it.
Yeah.
You have to pay people to survive. Like, if they're going to show up for the majority of their waking hours to do work for you so that you make money, you have to make sure that when they go home, they're not living on ramen noodles at 25.
Yeah, and I think that was something that I really stuck out to me about the workers' statements on this, is that they want this business to succeed. They want the product that they're bringing as far as community and a place to come together and play. They want all that to grow and to prosper. Like, they're not trying to burn this thing to the ground or anything like that, because they enjoy the space and what it has become and what it has been created as much as anyone else does. Right. But the only problem is that they want to be compensated for the work that they're putting in to make that space what it is.
This is one of those jobs that I don't think you just pick anybody off the street to do, right? My kids both worked in restaurants, both worked in fast food as they're younger. And it's one of those things that, anybody can show up and learn to do that for the most part.
Yeah.
Being somebody that's working in a game cafe, I feel like you've got to have some sort of passion or understanding to do that job. How many thousands of games are out there, and how many hundreds do they probably have in the cafe?
Yeah.
And you need to know how to do that. You need to know how to run the fun events. You need to know how to bring in people and play D&D campaigns, Magic contest, Lorcana contests. I don't know. I feel like that's not somebody you can just get anywhere, and it is definitely not unskilled labor.
Right. I completely agree. I think you're looking for not only a person who can handle the service part of that industry, but also someone who can bring the charisma to the table to be able to teach these games, build excitement around them, right? Because that's what brings people back.
Absolutely. We talk about it all the time. It's community. If you're interested, go check out their Facebook and their Instagram. It is the Tabletop Workers United. That is the name of the union that they formed. If you're interested in supporting them, I know that they have a boycott pledge up right now, basically letting GENCON know that if they don't begin to bargain with their workers, there are people that are pledging to just not spend their money. So yeah, speaking of evil people, I know we are a board game podcast, but on the horizon, September 9th, there is a new video game coming out that has been getting a lot of attention for several reasons. But it is Space Marine 2, which is based in the Warhammer 40K universe. We've talked a little bit about that universe and that setting for a couple of reasons. I think there's a lot of geek crossover that happens. Wargaming is still something that happens on the tabletop. There's still all the rumors about Henry Cavill and his series coming to Amazon, which if you go on YouTube, you're going to find a lot of people telling you how bad it is and how he's ready to quit. Don't listen to any of that. Those are just angry white dudes is what I can tell. So ignore that. But the video game is coming out, and it is getting fantastic reviews. You basically play a squad of Space Marines, which are super juiced, enhanced 8-foot-tall warriors in massive, hunky armor that fire all kinds of weapons that are just unimaginably destructive. And you're taking on a horde of bug-like creatures that exist to do nothing except eat anything that's considered biomass. It's just that flood of Zergs that's coming in. A lot of people are really excited about this game, and I've noticed a lot of discussion that's come out of it about, oh, there's this whole tabletop thing that this is coming out of. So I've read the lore for a while when it comes to Warhammer 40K. It is known as the Grimdark. I think it brings people in, and it's interesting because of that. The success on this game, the way it's coming out, is definitely going to bring more people to at least look at that hobby, which that hobby is pretty deep. Like I said, the lore is like 30,000 years of lore. The game itself involves finding the right pieces, building them, painting them, or having somebody else paint them. That's an option now.
Yeah.
And then taking your armies and throwing them on the table against somebody else. A lot of people love it. I think a lot of people are intimidated by it just because the sheer size of things when you say 40K.
Yeah, and they've tried to, I think, fix that with the new kill team modes and stuff like that they're coming out with. They did have the board games that came out a little bit.
They still have those, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that really helped with the intimidation because Kill Team actually uses the similar like play style and structure as the traditional tabletop war game, right? So I think that might help with this. But if anything, I think the game's going to bring about some like visuals on the tabletop game itself.
Sure, yeah.
And they've had a few games, right? Rogue Trader probably being the most recent one. There have been a few Total War games with the Warhammer universe. So the universe has been around in the video games a few times, but I feel like we're seeing with this renaissance of tabletop gaming and stuff, we're still seeing a lot of new people coming into hobby that don't have really any experience and maybe do come from video games or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good. I think Space Marine 2 just has really captured everybody's imagination. It looks like it's going to be a good time, but I think the big thing is I think you're going to have a whole lot more people at least asking about the wargaming side of it now.
Yeah.
And getting involved there. I'm excited. I've got some friends that are putting together armies. The new 10th edition rules came out about a year ago. They streamlined a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Makes it a little simpler to understand and how to work things. Again, we're bringing more people to the table. I'm totally good with that. We just might have to build more tables. So, hey, now we are going to talk Gen Con.
All that I have left are memories. Won't you come back again? Baby, we could try again. We could try again. Come back again.
So I want you to imagine being in an area like 6 blocks that is you and 71,000 of your closest friends.
I just wish that we had 71,000 followers.
If everybody that went to Gen Con could do us a favor.
However you hear this episode, because we know you all will hear it.
We're gonna get better at this, guys. Yeah, Gen Con broke attendance records this year. 71,000 people. They actually sold out of all of their badges. The full 4-day badges, the individual daily badges, all gone.
So last year, the full 4-day and the weekend badges sold out, but they still had individual days for, I think, 2 or 3 days. So this year, there was nothing. If you look at our Instagram, there was a picture that we had on there of as soon as you walked up, the sign was there that said Gen Con sold out, which is wild to think about. obviously last year was our first Gen Con,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have a huge experience that we're drawing from as far as crowd levels and feel and all that. But yeah, I think you could feel it this year, especially on Thursday.
Thursday was insane. Usually the first day, from what everybody has told us and as we talk to people, the first day is usually let's ease it in, right?
Yeah.
No, it was just shoulder to shoulder. Everybody wanted to be there for the first day. I don't know if it was some FOMO stuff going on.
Probably because you do get that, especially so. Our experience with Gen Con is mainly centered around the expo hall and then the demo area, especially this year, being that we were working with the guys from BA Games. So Gen Con is, of course, much bigger than that, right? It takes up the surrounding hotels as well as the Lucas Oil Stadium. So there's a lot more to it than just like really even what we were experiencing. But I will say it was wild, the amount of people on Thursday that just felt like, we got to get in there. We got to get these games. Like, we got to get whatever it is, which the expo hall lends itself towards that. It's definitely a buyer's paradise, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what the exhibitors are there for. They want to sell you a product or show you a product, but most likely they want to sell you a product. So that kind of lends itself towards that. But it did feel like on Thursday, like people were coming up and they're like, all right, what is this game? All right, I need this game. And then they throw the money at you and then they were off to the next booth.
Thursday felt like a Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, it was usually Saturday is the big day.
Yeah.
Because obviously everybody's off work. Everybody's able to make it. Everybody's able to like travel. And then you've got the locals that come in. And that's where, the big sales happen. And this year, I know in our booth, Thursday, we had sold almost half of the product, over half of the product that we had.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty close to, I think, half of everything that they brought with them. There were definitely conversations Thursday night about, are we going to even make it to Sunday as far as with product? But yeah, 100%, which was really cool. I think it was a very successful Gen Con, at least for BA Games. Mm-hmm. It was really cool to have people come up and say, hey, I've heard about this game from somewhere at the con, and I was told I needed to come look at or get this game.
That's right. Yeah.
We did a lot of like running demos at the table or at the booth. And then we also did the demo hall where we were running full games as well of Forges and Cult. So definitely it was a blast though. I enjoyed it. We did work more this year than we did before.
Oh man. This year was a job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like Sam got his money worth. I'll throw that out there. But yeah, there were a bunch of other really cool things that happened at Gen Con this year. So if you don't know a lot about Gen Con, they always have a huge balloon sculpture that they make during the first couple days of the con. And then you can actually pay to give money to whatever charity they're supporting to actually pop it like at the very end.
Like multiple people. Like it's a group of people that get in on the slaughtering of the balloon sculpture.
Yeah. I know the last year was like a moon landing type structure with a big spaceship looking thing that was really cool. This year was the first year that there was actually a branded balloon sculpture. So one of the big exhibitors this year was the Op. They were the only exhibitor there to have a double-decker booth, which I think that should be more common. That was fantastic.
Oh my God, that looked amazing.
Yeah. But their big game that they were pushing this year was Gnome Hollow. And the balloon sculpture was all based around that. So nobody really had an idea the first day or so, but then I think they had created the gnomes, which we got a picture of on our Instagram.
We do, yep.
They had created the gnomes by like day 2 or 3, and everybody was like, oh, so that's what we're doing. And they actually made the house with this balloon sculpture that you could actually go inside.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. So I'm interested to see if that's a trend that continues. Like down the road, if another popular title will get the balloon sculpture every year.
Oh, who's going to get to be in the balloons this year?
Yeah.
That'll be a good,
I think
that's a fun game.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. And it was really well done. The people who do the sculptures are really cool. As someone who was an amateur balloon artist in college, yeah, 100%. Like it was fantastic work. But yeah, and with that, we talk about us working at the booth. It's definitely something that you can do as well.
That was a big thing that I saw going into it. So a couple of people, as we've been doing this, we have met people that like us, had reached out and we're like, hey, are you guys working Gen Con? Would you like to? And of course, we'd already dedicated our time to the BA Games guys. We've had a really good relationship with them going on several years now.
Yeah.
And we like their games. We like what they're doing. It looks like they are moving in the right direction.
Definitely, 100%. But one of the opportunities that had come up was actually to work with the Dragon Shields booth.
Yeah.
And that seemed like a pretty good gig. The pay seemed pretty good. It was pretty flexible, scheduling, stuff like that.
I saw the average for the other booths, which do offer to pay, some of them. They did offer a badge for the days that you were working, and I think you had to work like 6 hours, and it was like $22 an hour.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad, but I think the lowest I saw was like $20 an hour because there were other booths that were doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was definitely interesting. Personally, I enjoyed working at Gen Con. I like to see the other side of the curtain, so to speak. It was really cool because you also get the opportunity to meet people as well, like other exhibitors, other content creators, all kinds of stuff like that.
Sure.
Specifically, if you are able to get an exhibitor badge, which I don't know that everyone was offering that, all the booths, but I'm sure it was part of a package for some of them. Mm-hmm. You get into the hall early, and it's a crazy experience. If you've never got an exhibitor badge at a convention, being able to wander around the hall, especially something as big as Gen Con early, and like just running into random people, and you're like, oh, that's that guy. I never thought I would see them face to face, but here we are. And there's not a crowd of 70,000 people around you, and you can stop and talk for a second. Just some really cool opportunities. Also getting to talk with other exhibitors about their games, learning a little bit more about what they're doing or what they have coming up. Just really cool, interesting moments like that.
It also is a great opportunity because most of the exhibitors will let you purchase stuff from them early or before the doors open if you're an exhibitor, which is exactly how we got probably one of the hottest games at Gen Con this year.
But yeah, so if you are interested in working Gen Con or maybe like PAX Unplugged or something like that, don't be afraid to reach out to your favorite publisher who's going to be there and see if they are picking up people to come work the booths.
Keep an eye on Reddit, keep an eye on their Facebook, their social media. A lot of that stuff just gets posted in places like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, let's talk about some of our experiences in the booth. Because, we talked about this. We did help them out a little bit last year. It wasn't like a true official capacity or anything. We more like were scheduled a couple hours, a few of the days, and we'd like pretty much show up and be like, hey, you guys good? You like, do you need us? And we'd cover lunches and stuff like that for a little bit and then carry on. This year, with being Gen Con was the first convention that we actually had copies of Forges of Ravenshire in print, as opposed to just demo copies.
Which is BA Games' new game. They just finished the Kickstarter, and as a matter of fact, they were just getting fulfillment going right before Gen Con. I know we got our copy like 4 days before we left.
They were actually hoping to have copies at Origins this year, but they were not able to get any for theirs.
Shipping is still wild. Yeah. Shipping is still wild, people.
Yeah, again, so we ran into a lot of people or talked with a lot of people who showed up and said, yeah, I played this game at Origins. I need a copy. Show me where to throw my money. But yeah, so that was really cool and exciting. This year at the booth was pretty much all about Forges.
It was. Like we did sell some cult.
Yes.
Go me.
There was a small cult altar still in the corner. So there was still that kind of being there, but you could tell definitely most of the excitement and like fanfare around the booth this year was about Forges.
Which is a really fantastic game. I have said in the past that I suck at worker placement, and I feel like by the end of Gen Con, having played the game or demoed it somewhere in the triple digits, I feel better. I feel a lot better about playing that game and making the engine work.
Yeah, that is one thing I will say. If you are working for a company that has a game, you will, by the end of the con, more than likely know that game inside and out, which is cool. I feel like I could teach Forges now with my eyes closed and my hands tied behind my back and only able to say every third word. That's where I'm at right now.
The booth got a really nice table from the booth next to us. It was Carolina Game Tables. They let our booth use one of their stand-up tables for displaying and showing like the quick, hey, here's the 5-minute spiel on Forges. And then we also had 2 games that let you play the first round. Forges happens in 4 rounds or seasons. And then in the expo hall, you could go sign up and play
A full
like a full game.
Yep.
Which those, again, came through the ticketing system. You didn't have to pay for it. You just had to sign up and have the ticket. And that sold out.
Yeah. The events were full before the con even started. So there was a lot of, hey, our events are scheduled full, but we know how that goes. A lot of times people don't get there, especially since it was a free event. So if you show up every hour on the hour, we may have a spot for you, kind of thing.
Yeah. I can definitely tell that the guys at BA had learned from their first game. And I saw a lot of refinement in how Forges was done. There was the base game, which they could purchase while they were there, but there were also the upgrades that came with it, which when we saw them, they were putting them out. We're like, you're probably not going to sell any of those. And we were wrong.
Oh, I can't tell you. Don't get me wrong. We joke on this podcast all the time about how the kids who enjoyed games and stuff when they were growing up now have adult money. And I can't tell you like how true that is, especially at a place like GenCon. It's not unrealistic to see a person walk up to a booth and drop $500.
Yes.
And then carry that big bag of stuff that they got all around the hall the rest of the day. And I know it happens. I've done shit like that before, so I know it happens. I know I do it, but still to be on the other side of that and you're pitching this game to somebody and you could tell they're interested in the game. They want to know more. They're probably going to buy a copy. You're like, awesome. Yeah. So we have this bundle deal that we're running here at Gen Con.
Right.
You get these extras. And then they look at the wooden box, which I think we have, again, a picture on our Instagram of ours. And they point to the wooden box and they're like, how much is that? And we're like, oh, so you're one of those customers. It's almost like the speakeasy, right? It opens the door. You're like, that's this price. But also, have you seen the gemstone dice?
The wooden box was by itself $150. And then the gemstone dice, which replace all of the dice in the game, are all a bunch of D6s. They're all colored because that's important later on in the game. And that just box of dice was, I think it was like $250, something like that.
I think the whole package for everything you could get was right around $500.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we sold those.
Oh, yeah. And we sold almost all that they had.
Yeah.
And that was what's crazy. On Thursday, I think was probably one of the most profitable days when it came to that.
Yeah.
They also had like play mats and a couple other, some upgraded coins and upgraded tokens. So like the whole package together was there. Yeah. Like pushing into late Saturday and Sunday, like there was a list of stuff we did not have any more of or had like less than 10 of, which was really cool just to be a part of, to see that kind of success. I know, like they were happy to have what they had there, but I guarantee if we would have had double what we had there, I think we could have been pushing that number probably.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, but it was a blast. We really enjoyed it. Again, part of that comes from our relationship with the guys at BA Games. They're a fantastic group of people. It's a fantastic company, but definitely something that if you're interested in experiencing that side of the business, when con season is rolling around, if you want to go to one, check and see, because you may be able to get there for a lot less cost than what you would normally pay for it.
Right. And that took up most of our time at Gen Con.
Yeah. We've maximized our time in the early hours of the vendor hall before it opened. Our scheduling with them was we usually had off until close to lunchtime, and then we would go to the booth or to the events, and we would work those until everything closed at 6. And then we would get to go do whatever else we had, which was everything from some parties to just hanging out with people and stuff like that. Definitely some later nights and early mornings.
Which, hey man, Gen Con's a marathon, baby.
Yeah, that's for sure. But definitely made use of that early morning time to be able to not only buy what we were looking for, buy some things we weren't necessarily looking for. That's part of Gen Con. And then make our way around looking at stuff and visiting people.
So one of the big things that we got to do, we had decided last year that this year we were doing the True Dungeon experience.
Yes.
So if you have not heard of this, you need to go to their website. Just Google True Dungeon, and they will show you what they do. You essentially show up. They put you in a group of like 10 people. They have different adventures that they offer. Yeah. And we did one that it was the last year for it. It was a pirate-themed adventure. And you show up. You pick a class. It is very much a role-playing game without actually being LARP. You pick your character. They give you these little tokens which contain your armor or weapons or things that you can use like potions and stuff like that. And once you get together, you figure out who's going to play what. They release you and walk you through this maze. You've got 12 rooms, and I think you've got 5 minutes in each room.
Right.
Some rooms are combat, which I thought the combat was fantastic, right?
Yeah.
You have this little puck that is in each of the rooms that there's combat, right? And there's a table, and it's like shuffleboard, and you would slide it, and there would be like a picture kind of drawn of what you were fighting.
Yeah.
And depending on where your puck landed and how your puck landed, because there were numbers around the edge, would determine how much damage you would do to it.
Yeah.
Before you go in, there is a like character card that they fill out. So whoever's running that room can do the math and see what you do.
Yeah, it was really cool. It is basically an escape room mixed with a tabletop RPG.
For combat, you had the pucks, but depending on your class, it determined how you would use those pucks.
Yeah.
Like I took the monk because I don't know why. I just gravitate towards monks. I think they're awesome. And I had 2 pucks, but I had to use my same hand and I had to throw them fast, like to slide them. You were the ranger.
Yep, and which the ranger, if you decide to use 2 weapons, you had to slide the 2 pucks at the same time, one in each hand. I ended up pulling a bunch of stuff that made sense to go more ranged, so I just used a bow, so I only had the 1 puck, but I had some really wild bonuses to that.
If you're a magic user, you choose that class: sorcerer, druid, wizard, cleric. For each class, they have a different set of pictures that you memorize. I know Marie was with us and she played the druid.
Right.
She had to memorize different leaves, like an oak leaf or sycamore or whatever. And when she decided to cast a spell, which were all written on the sheet that you hang around your neck so they know what class you are.
Yeah.
It's like a dry erase board. When she went to cast the spell, you could power the spell by the person would pull out a picture and be like, "What's this?" And if you could identify it, or depending on your class, tell them what it was, you would get to like power up the spell.
Yeah.
So very cool mechanic. We did okay in the combat. Keep in mind, this was a group of 10, and sometimes you're going to get people that are like super into this.
Yeah.
This has been going for what, 20 years?
Probably close. Yeah.
And there are people who have done it for 20 years.
Yeah. There are people who this is what they do at Gen Con.
Yeah.
Over and over, this is what they do.
Which is crazy because it's about what? Anywhere from $100 to $140 for a ticket?
Yeah. Per pop.
Per pop, yep.
But I know the one guy in the room, so we got there early because we didn't know what we were doing. So we're like, all right, let's get there a little early. Maybe we can figure it out.
Also, let's define early because the only tickets that we could get were the 10 o'clock start time.
Right.
PM.
For our start time, we got there early.
Up at 9:30.
Yeah. So we got to our little like prep room or whatever, like not knowing what the hell we were doing. And this guy came in and he was like, "Oh, y'all are here early." We're like, "Yeah." And he was like, "All right, so have you done this before?" And we were like, "No, we don't know what we're doing." He was like, "Cool. So I'm going to be the thief, but here's what you do." And had to explain to us all this stuff. He's like, "Yeah, I always come here early so I can make sure and get the thief." Because as the thief, you get the option to do these special little puzzle boxes in each room, or most of the rooms, where then you can either choose to get a special reward or you can give a hint to the rest of the group.
Right.
Which I think is pretty fantastic because then you can be like, does the group have it? All right, I want the extra treasure.
Right, yeah. Nope, I'll take the shiny things. The other rooms were puzzles.
Yeah.
Yet you had to figure out.
It was escape room puzzles. Most of them were pretty straightforward, and they had some interesting. Once you figured it out, you could solve it pretty quickly. The one room was a little rough. Like, I'm not quite sure how the imagery like connected with what we were supposed to do.
The skulls?
The skulls. But still, like the whole thing was a blast. And full disclosure, we died.
All of us. But we died in the last room.
Yeah. So, honestly, I think that guy was like, it's almost 11 o'clock. I'm not pulling any punches anymore. Like, we out. So that's my own personal opinion. Take that as you will.
If you've ever been a DM, that feeling, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I just want to end this campaign one
we've
way or
been
another.
running for 4.5 hours. I feel like we're just really done today. But no, it was a blast. There were a lot of really cool moments in the whole thing. Most of our group was pretty like involved.
Oh, yeah.
There were a couple that were like, I don't really want to be here to do this thing, or I've already done this maybe 3 times at Gen Con this year. That's what it felt like.
Or, hey, I'm just doing this because my daughter wants to, and
Yeah, yeah. If you get a big enough group together, I think it has potential to be extremely fantastic, or if you get lucky with like randoms.
Yeah.
But definitely something, if you've never done it before and you think the idea of an escape room would be interesting, go check out their videos and stuff. This is one of those events that, like, as soon as events drop, it sells out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though there are probably 150 plus time slots, it does completely sell out every year.
Yeah.
So,
And it seemed like a lot of people too would go in and buy 10 tickets
yes.
when it dropped. And that's one of the big reasons it does sell out fast. But then a lot of people end up turning tickets back in relatively we're talking like within the same hour, 2 hours of tickets dropping. So if you're trying to get them and you don't get them right away, keep pushing it.
Yeah.
And keep getting in there. So that's our advice. Hey, you learned some stuff. Brought to you by the Dapper People. We give away stuff here. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we did fall into the purchasing culture of Gen Con, though. If you haven't seen our picture, we put out a nice spread on our fancy table here. We picked up a lot of games, some of which we have played so far. We still got a lot to work through. But we also picked up a really cool airbrush.
So Lethal Shadows, we've talked about them before. I have been a huge fan of their just actual brushes, right? You can change the tip out, so you can change sizes, things like that, but they are aluminum. They feel really good in the hand. They've got a nice weight to them without being annoying or something that you get sore using if you're having like a long paint session. Their minis are fantastic. They have all kinds of minis. I'm talking fantasy, horror, sci-fi. Their painters that they have in-house really show you just how good mini painting can look.
Yeah.
They also have, they have the handle, which is called the scepter, where it'll hold your mini in place. So you can paint on it without getting your hand in the way, especially if you got big ass hams like I got. It makes it real easy. But this year they came out with their own airbrush. So airbrushing on minis is something that I think is a niche. A lot of people really enjoy it. A lot of people are intimidated by it. And a lot of it is you've got to buy the equipment, right? You've got to buy the brush. You've got to buy the compressor. You've got to make sure you understand how the paints work and the cleaning. You got to keep your airbrush clean and not clogged. And they offered an entire package that fit in a box that was, maybe 5 by 7 inches, right? The compressor for this is really tiny. And you can find some of these. I was looking around on Amazon and probably Temu. Good luck with that. Which are these small compressors, and they're usually pretty cheap. But the one that Lethal Shadows did, I have got a chance to use it. I've been painting some minis with it. It's really fantastic. It pushes at about 25 PSI, which I think is really good. You may have to watch your distance with that, where a lot of times people, if you have a compressor, which is usually larger, like the one that I had before, you can adjust your pressure, right? Yeah. You can change what your distance is. But I had set up a airbrush station in our hobby room that we just put together. So it's venting out of the room, which is probably a good idea, considering you're atomizing paint is what you're doing. The brush feels really good in the hand. I like how it performs. I've done a lot of testing, just white paper testing, things like that, where I'm watching where the spray is and how the trigger works. It feels really good. They also gave you the option with that brush. You have 3 different sizes of needles and nozzles, so you can change how much paint you're putting out, maybe make it more detailed or make it a wider spray, depending on what you're doing. I like the one that came in it. I think it's a 0.3 millimeter. It feels like a good middle ground for me so far. They do have one that's a tighter spray with a 0.2 millimeter, and then they've got a 0.5. Everything about this thing was really impressive to me, so I went ahead and bought it because it was like $40 off at the con. And the guy who actually designed it and their master painter was there to sell it to me. So, yeah, that was our first non-game purchase that I went ahead and made. I'd been looking at it for a while, and it looked really pretty in person, so I bought it.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool, too. We went to give the guy one of our pins, because usually we do that when we're talking to people. We give him a pin and a card. And he was like, yeah, I already have one of this pin. And I was like, from last year? And he was like, yeah, I think we met then. And I was like, probably. We talked to a lot of people. But yeah, that looked really cool. I think the portability of it, I think, was really unique with it.
Yeah, definitely liked it. I think it was really good quality. I've had a blast with it. I think they retail for about $210 maybe. You'll have to go to their site and check that out.
Yeah, so one of the other big things happening at Gen Con this year was the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. Right, so they had a couple things going on. They actually had a kind of museum exhibit, I guess would be the way to describe it, set up with some like stuff from classic D&D, some of the artwork and some of the original like players handbooks and stuff like that. So that was really cool. But the other thing that came out was the new edition of the player's handbook. You were able to get a copy of it. They were limited number of copies each day, and you had to go in the morning at 7:00 into the event and register for a spot
On the app.
Yeah.
Yes. Or the website.
Yeah, whichever one.
All right. So it goes back to that GenCon ticketing system, which we should probably do a whole episode on that.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes back around next year. Definitely we'll post some stuff on social media. It took me a little while to figure out. Once you get the idea, it's all right. You basically go in and you're like, hey, I want to do this event. And they're like, all right, well, put it in your wish list. And which I didn't realize just how much the wish list. That's true. Sometimes it takes a wish to get in there. And then when the tickets open for whatever that event is, you got to go in there and buy it. But you're trying to buy it, and how many ever other people in that 71,000 are also trying to buy it.
Yep.
So it took a while to get in there. And again, this didn't cost anything, but it just gave you the opportunity to pay them money to get the book.
And I think there were only 700 copies a day.
Yeah.
It was a pretty limited number.
There was 3,000 copies total they had.
Yep. Yeah. And the other cool thing, when you went to go get the book, the United States Postal Service had a booth set up right next to them, because if you all have not seen them yet, they put out an official stamp page that is all D&D stamps.
Right. It's several stamps, and a lot of the artwork on them are characters that are known and loved, or monsters that are the classic monsters of D&D. The artwork is really well. I don't know who did it.
I think there were a couple of people, and they were there at a couple of different points.
Mm-hmm.
You could get them to come and sign like your little stamps.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. They also had some other merch, like some t-shirts. They had some pins, but they were sold out when we went by. That was like a little stamp shaped. Like, it was pretty fantastic. A lot of really cool stuff. If you haven't picked up your D&D stamps yet, you may still be able to get them at your local post office. So definitely go and check that out, or possibly even on the website. So yeah, that was the D&D 50th. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff going on themed around that. But then we picked up quite a few games.
We did. And a couple of them that we just wanted to highlight and talk about were games that we've been looking at for a while, or there was one in here that we'll talk about that was just everybody was after this game.
Yep.
So let's start off with Thunder Road Vendetta Maximum Chrome. I have been wanting to get my hands on this for a while. It is a very Mad Max inspired game where in the base game, you've got cars, you're racing around the track, you build the track, it's tiles as you go. There are like bombs and oil slicks and things that can mess your car up. And then there are other people that can also mess your car up. And just the base game that I had played once was fantastic, and I just have never got my chance to get my hands on it. They had released a few expansions. One of them was like the Big Rig expansion. One of them brought helicopters into it. And then they released Maximum Chrome, which was all of the expansions. I think there's 5 expansions that came with it. There's the base game, the Big Rig, and the Final 5, Carnage at Devil's Run, the Chop Shop, and Extra Ammo were the expansions that came onto it. And first of all, fantastic looking box. We did pull it out. We put it back in, popped out all the cardboard and stuff. It really looks like a great game, and we're excited to get it on the table here really soon.
Yeah, you played this one actually at Gen Con last year in one of the after parties or whatever that we were at.
Woo, board game after party.
Yeah, and then we went to go buy it the next day, and they were sold out of the Maximum Chrome editions. Yeah, it's been a year coming, because we didn't want to pay $800 on eBay or whatever it was, because that's ridiculous.
Hey, you resellers that overdo that, you're horrible. And there's a special place in whatever hell-like place you're going. I don't know.
Another one we picked up is a fairly new title from what we thought was a smaller company, because we had never heard of them, had never seen anything from them or anything like that. The game is called Finders Creepers. What really stuck out to it on me was the app integration and that they include in this game, which allows you to use your device to find these monsters that will hide on the board in the game. So like the game kind of features a bunch of different rooms in this house, and you're trying to find where these monsters go. What got me though was the monsters will sometimes leave the board and will go hide in your house,
which is fantastic. Like
Yeah.
this is some augmented reality stuff. Think Pokemon Go.
Yeah, and then you got to wander around your house looking for where these monsters went. And it's not scary, gory kind of monsters. They're very more like cartoonish type. So it's really cool for kids that they don't have to be super old or mature for this. But yeah, that concept completely sold me. I was in 100% as soon as I heard about it. So did a little more research. We actually did not find them until, was it Sunday?
Huh?
Yeah, we didn't. So they had just a tiny little booth in the middle of the kids area of GenCon. So we were going up and down the aisles Sunday morning, like just trying to who haven't we seen? What else do we need to look at? All that sort of stuff. And we found their booth. And it was really cool. They had this cool like picture taking area that you could get your photo taken, and you could insert one of the monsters,
right,
and like a background and stuff in it. They were also running a killer deal during Gen Con. Their game was only $13.33, which is fantastic. So yeah, we were able to pick this up. We haven't had a chance to get it to our table yet, but I'm really excited for it. If nothing else, just the concept of it is so unique.
It is. Now, my son and his girlfriend did Shanghai my version of it. And we also got a copy for Marie's niece and nephew.
Yep.
And we were waiting to hear back, especially with that one. I want to see how kids do with it.
Yep.
But like I said, it's not, like Josh said, it's not scary. And I think it's cool to be able to hunt them off the board.
Yeah, that just seems like a very unique idea to me. That is Finders Creepers. And then we picked up a couple other games from Devere.
Right? Devere came out swinging this year.
I think they are almost printing straight gold at this point. They had two extremely hot games. We'll talk about the lesser of the two first. First up is Cities, which we did pick up. It's a smaller box game.
Right.
But in it, you are trying to build up your city using various different pieces, a tableau building type game.
Right. You start off with the city that you're in, and then the different pieces, you get points for how you build the buildings, how tall they are, how many different colors. There's a lot of different scoring mechanisms that look like that they used in there, which that always keeps a game fresh longer.
Yeah, yeah. This one was very popular. That booth was right down the aisle from us. And every time when the hall opened, the line for that booth was like immediately backed up, like down the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
For this game, but also for their other one, which the probably star of Gen Con this year was Rock Hard 1977.
So this was a game that was designed by Jackie Fox. She is a Los Angeles-based designer. She's also done The Adventure of Chubby Slugs, was her first game that she helped design. This one, though, she took a lot of inspiration from her youth. Jackie was the bass player for the original teenage all-female rock band group back in the late 70s called The Runaways. Now, a lot of people listening to this are going to be like, wow, that's old. Also, I'm thinking bad things about you for thinking that. But in the 70s, they put out a song that I know the vast majority of people listening would have heard. Their big hit was Cherry Bomb.
Yep.
I know they've used it in Guardians of the Galaxy. They used it in Stranger Things. The Boys has used it. True Blood, Lucifer. This song has gotten around.
Yeah.
So the game, Rock Hard 1977, is all about you being a rock artist trying to make it.
Yeah, it is very much kind of worker placement. The board itself is separated into three different zones, like the daytime, the nighttime, and then the after hours. You start out as this aspiring rock artist. You have a day job, whatever that is.
Because that's what happens to artists.
Yeah. And as you're playing through this, it's really great. The decision space you have, because you can sometimes forego going to your job, but you can only do that so many times before you get fired. There are different spaces and venues. You're trying to create your first record so that you have something. Then there are different venues that you're playing at that have requirements of either fans or songs that you've written, or even chops, like how good you actually are in order to be able to play those venues. Overall, extremely thematic.
Sure. Which with that, just as a heads up for anybody that might have younger children or maybe a little adverse to more adult themes. There are things in this game that definitely lean into a little bit of that darker side of music.
Yeah.
You can end up with a candy allergy or candy addiction. And for that, you may have to go to rehab.
Yes.
Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Just keep that in mind. But that plays into the game, like you said, that plays into the theme.
Yeah. And it is absolutely like dripping with this theme. And for a Euro style game that really plays as a Euro game, just the decision making and the way the theme shines in the different places you can go and things that you can do, I think are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So we were able to get our hands on this. Again, this was part of the reason why every morning DeVere's booth was backed up. So just for people who know, the hall opens at 10 o'clock. By 10:15 every day, they were sold out of this game. And they had a separate room outside of the hall as well, where they were also selling product. Again, that room opened at 8 in the morning, and they were saying by 8:15 they were sold out of the copies they had for that day in that room. Definitely 100% one of the most popular games there. I'm super excited to get it to the table. It's one of those that then I can't wait to give it a go.
Right.
Just because of the way it looks, the theming, just the whole 9 yards.
And the whole reason we got our hands on it was exhibitor badges.
Yep.
Because they might have sold out at 10:15 at the actual booth, but we were buying at 8:30. So go us.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy who was working the booth, I went up and I was like, hey, are you guys selling this morning to exhibitors? And he was like, you got money? I was like, it just so happens, good sir. But yeah, so fantastic. Again, DeVere is killing it right now, especially with these two and even some other games they put out recently. Just really fantastic publishers. Definitely ones to keep an eye on right now.
We also, like we said, got to meet a lot of people, and there's a couple of them that we definitely want to tell you about. So one of the games that we found was the Bigfoot Roll and Smash, right? These guys actually got the IP from Bigfoot, the monster truck. Just to be clear, not Sasquatch. No, the great American pastime of monster trucking. You basically set up the board, right? And you each have a monster truck. You put in how you want to challenge, attack the board. There's dice rolling to help determine how that works. And kind of one of the key features, like I'm not going to lie, we've had this talk about how bad we are with upgrades and fancy things and tokens and the metal coins. The dice are
little monster truck wheels.
They are to scale, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's just, we'll take pictures. It's a little monster truck wheel with numbers on it. I don't know why. I liked it. So we got a copy of it.
Yeah, so it is a programming game where you decide the moves of your truck and how you're going to try and jump over these obstacles or roll over them or do monster truck things. I think what sold me was at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we walked up to their booth, and the guy hands me this dice that says roll it down the aisle. And I'm like, can I do that? And he was like,
It's truly a man after our own heart.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to stop us.
Yeah. It was like the hall's not open yet. What are you going to do? But yeah, it's definitely unique. Programming games are something that have grown a little bit lately. There've been a few really good ones coming out. I like the theming behind this one.
Right.
It seems really unique with the whole Bigfoot and monster truck, like crushing things or jumping things. And what I thought was really cool was as you program, you're trying to program your truck to do the correct trick over whatever the obstacle is. There are tons of obstacles too in the game, so every time you play is going to be a little bit different. I thought that all that kind of put together was really cool.
The publisher on this one was XYZ Game Labs, and the guy that we actually talked to was one of the designers, Rob Huber. I hope I'm saying that right, Rob. He'll let us know, hopefully, when he comes onto the show to talk to us. They are really deep into just the gaming community, not only with making their own games, but also running gaming groups in their local area. As a matter of fact, we got our hands on this game because if you're in an exhibitor booth, a lot of them will give you a game to go trade. And we traded a copy of Forges of Ravenshire for this game, and they were ecstatic to get their hands on that.
Yeah, yeah. And he was telling, so in their local area, they have the largest gaming group. And they actually do some really cool stuff as far as like featuring games for their group.
Right.
Which really, I think if you're a small publisher or like a small designer, having the ability for 1,000 people to be able to get their hands on your game to either play test or something like that, I think is really cool. So definitely an interesting part. I'm excited to hopefully be able to talk with him before too long, learn more about what they do out there and see where we can get connected with them.
Another person we got to talk to was Samara Jethwa, who is the artist that did Curses and Covens. Marie saw this game and was really excited to get to play it. It is a kind of all versus one card game. There are 3 or more friendly towns facing off against a witch hunter. One player plays as the witch hunter and wins by capturing witches, right? The artwork on it is very almost cartoony, but just it's bright, it's fun, it looks like a really good time. We got to sit and talk with her for a little while when one of those moments where everything wasn't absolutely insane. I think it might have actually been before opening. But yeah, I got to talk to her. She is from Australia, which Australia is throwing out some games here lately.
Yeah.
So again, hope to get her on the show. We'll deal with that whole time difference thing as we go. But this game looked like a lot of fun. Again, a small box game.
Yeah. Their booth that they were with, it was like a conglomerate booth. There were a bunch of other kind of smaller publishers tied in with them.
Yep.
But they were in between us and DeVere. So we got to commiserate with each other on how crazy DeVere got every morning. It wasn't quite a bet system taken, but I'm pretty sure we could have done it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The publishers on this one was 1,000 Rats, I believe, which is who she works with. And then Good Games Publishing,
Which is the company that had the booth.
looked really good. A lot of fun. And again, I think it's always cool for us to get to talk to people that are in this space and doing things that we enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we were very busy, like we've talked about. So we didn't get out to meet a lot of people, but we set up our booth. We were showing off what we were doing. Right across the aisle was Beetle and Grimm,
Yep.
which is Matthew Lillard's company where they make supplements for D&D. If you don't know, Matthew Lillard, huge in the D&D community. He loves it. He's one of the big names that gets out and plays. He's a great guy from everything that I've ever heard. On Sunday, he actually showed up at the booth and it was still busy. There was a crowd of people around him the whole time. And then we were running demos and doing what we do. There was a moment that he was just standing there and talking, and Marie ran over where I was doing a demo of Forges, and she's like, hey, let somebody else do this. Matthew's over there. And I was like, all right. I got to go over, got in the crowd, because everything I've heard about him, everything he's ever done, he just seems like a genuinely good person, and I think we saw some things that I feel like backed that up. Went over to talk to him and just talked about his whiskeys that he has coming out. They're doing a line of whiskey. They're all small batch. The latest one that came out was the Paladin, which we got a chance to try over with Mike and the guys over at the Weather Dragon. The next one that's coming out, I think just got delivered as Warlock. And he told me that in October, I think he said around the 9th, there would be another announcement, probably the next one coming out. Like he said, a lot of people wanted to come up and talk to him. Some people wanted to take selfies, and he was, hey, I don't want to take any selfies today just because if you take one, it's going to make a group. We're going to clog up the thing. Just very conscious about what's going on. He goes, but if you were to like walk over there and take a selfie and I'm in the background, I can't and won't stop you from doing that. Again, good guy, smart guy. I got a quick minute to say something to him, and I just, hey, we're real busy. We're right across the way here. Just want to tell you, like, I appreciate what you've done. Thanks for making this hobby accessible and fun and getting more people invited. And he came over. When I walked up, he like gave me a fist bump, and I told him, hey, this is what I think. Big fan. He reached over, gave me a big hug. He's, oh, thanks. And I was like, I got a hug from Matthew Lillard. I was going to start talking shit, but I didn't. I feel like that would have been. But just real quick, I was like, hey, we run a little podcast. Can I give you a pin? And he had his arms crossed when he was standing there. Not defensively, just the way he stands, very shaggy. The older guys, the older millennials will get that. But he looked around and put his hand out real quick, and I dropped him a Dapper Meeple pin, and we were out. But it was cool. It was a cool meeting. He was there all day Sunday, and then Sunday, the hall closes. There's a huge applause because we've survived. And then you start breaking down your booth, and they start breaking down the convention center.
Yeah. Like, it's no joke. They start rolling up the carpet.
Yeah.
Like,
so we were there, and we were packing stuff out for us. and waiting to go load it into like the trucks and the trailers, and it's time for everybody to go home. And across the way, Beetle and Grimm, they had a good sized booth. They were, like everybody else, packing up their stuff. And I got to tell you, Matt was right there.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle of it, not, he was not too good to be doing the grunt work.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought that was really impressive, and I felt like that was really in character for him.
Yeah, 100%. I think that really speaks a lot to the kind of person he is. That he could have very easily told his people, all right, you guys know what to do, pack it up this way, I'm going to go do whatever, and been gone. But no, the fact that he was right there with them, not only during the day with dealing with just the general crowd, but also, getting down there, packing up stuff into the boxes, making sure everything got where it needed to go. 100% fantastic. I was really glad just to be across the aisle as a witness to that.
Right.
Because it really backs up a lot of the persona that he puts out there, that this is who he is. So a lot of times they say, be careful meeting your heroes, because a lot of times they don't turn out how you expect and hope them to be. But yeah, I think he's definitely one of the good ones.
Yeah, I felt that. So yeah, man, that was our Gen Con 2024. We got to be there as they're breaking attendance records. We were 2 in that 71,000, technically 3. Go, baby. I know big cons scare a lot of people. I have a lot of friends that are like, ooh, too many people for me. Way too many. I actually had a friend of mine that lives in the Indianapolis area. His son turned 15, just got into D&D about a year ago, and a really smart kid, is eating up everything he can, is already running his own games, designing his own campaigns and his own world building and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, dude, you know that the biggest gaming convention in North America is literally 10 minutes from you. So he got tickets and brought his son, and it was really cool just seeing somebody new in the hobby and then somebody new to Gen Con. Just
Yeah.
the look
Yeah.
on their face, it was wild. He actually had to, there's a couple times where he said, like, yeah, I'm going to have to take a minute, go up to the quiet rooms and just chill out for a minute, because it is a lot. I do think Gen Con does have things like quiet rooms that people can go to. You always can go outside to the block party. They did much better this year at the block party for making sure there were
Absolutely.
tables and stuff
Yeah.
out there and shade, because it was hot.
Yeah, yeah. And like we said, Gen Con expands so much more than just the exhibit hall.
Mm-hmm.
There's, of course, the stadium with the thousands of tables that are there, but also each of the hotels oftentimes has like open gaming areas in there as well.
Our conference rooms were, some of them 24 hours.
Yeah, which they are building the brand new hotel right across the street that's going to have a connector to the convention center. They were actually excavating down into the foundations and laying those while we were there. So that was cool to see. I think the goal is to be up next year.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's supposed to add another, they said some 300 or 400 rooms. Definitely something to be excited about for next year. But yeah, that's Gen Con.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one in the books.
If you've never been, they call it the best 4 days in gaming. To each their own, but we have a blast every time we go. I found out I was an extrovert, so I had a blast. Who knew? All right. So we talked about this being the big 5-0. Normally at this point, we will throw in our Kickstarter roundup, our crowdfunding roundup, and tell you about some games that are looking for some money to get made. Community comes together. We all pay for it. And most of the time, we get some good stuff, like solid 98% of the time, right? But this time we're doing something a little different, because it being our 50th episode, with all that we've done, all the people that we've met, all the different game stores and conventions and traveling that we've done, we've picked up a good bit of stuff and kind of squirreled it away into our prize closet. What for? Because we decided we're going to give out prizes. That's right. Dapper Meeple is doing its first ever giveaway, and I think we did pretty good on this. So let us tell you how we're doing this.
Yeah, so we have 8 different prize packs that people are able to win. Let's go through them, because let's be honest, we want to talk about the goods. The first prize pack, and probably the creme de la creme of our collection that we've squirreled away here. First off, we have a brand new 2024 Player's Handbook, which, if you didn't know, you can't get your hands on yet.
That's right. They will actually release it in September, probably before we finish this giveaway. But we have a copy for one lucky winner.
And in that prize pack, not only do you get a Player's Handbook, but you also get a custom Dice Tower book from Fire and Ash. So our friends at Fire and Ash, we've talked about them a few times. We have one of their books that has our meeple on the front of it. All wood construction, beautiful piece to have on your gaming table. We're giving away one that actually came from their most recent Kickstarter.
That's right. It looks like a book. Like you could put it on your shelf and people would hardly notice this. You open it up, it's all magnetic. There's also a dice tower that folds away into the book and stands up. Magnetic clicks into the back. You drop your dice down. Really just fantastic work all the way around. There's also a little tray for some minis or some other things that you want to carry with you. Both of those come in that first prize pack.
Yep. For the second prize pack, we have one of my favorite solo games. I mean, actually, probably one of the hottest solo games out there since it first came out a few years ago. And that is a Final Girl starter pack. So we have the core game box along with the Carnage at the Carnival scenario box. And then we have the custom game mat that comes with it as well if you bought some of the extras or picked it up at a con. So all of that comes in the second prize pack. Pretty much everything you need to start your first Final Girl adventure. And then from then on out, you just got to buy the other movie boxes for any other scenarios you want.
It's a really great one-player game. And I think the expansions have all done really well, just encompassing classic horror.
Yep.
Where you do play as this final girl survivor, which is a trope in these, especially more modern horror games. Moving on to number 3. You're going to get one copy of Finders Creepers, the game that we talked about on this episode. You look through your house to try to catch these monsters on the game board, but every now and then they'll escape. It's that augmented reality. It is just looks like a blast. So we're going to give you a copy of that and a copy of Just One.
Yeah, Just One is a fantastic party game where you're trying to find the correct term for whatever the category is. And the problem is if more than one person says or writes down the same thing, then those get tossed out. So definitely one of the best party games to come out. Very fun, very easy to pick up and teach to people who may not be gamers, but it's always a good time.
Board game prize pack number 2 includes Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Now, this is a game with the Star Wars theme, but it is based on Pandemic.
Yep. It uses that pandemic system fantastically, set in the Clone Wars universe. So you're trying to move to the different planets, trying to stop the separatists from taking over the planets, just like you would stopping the diseases in the pandemic game.
Yep. Separatists are a disease. You heard it here first. And then a copy of this great small box game. And when I say small box, I mean Altoids box. It's called Tinderblocks.
Yeah, so this game is really cool. It uses stacking mechanism where you're trying to create these fires, basically stacking the different colored blocks on top of each other. You have these cards that tell you the ways that you need to stack them. It's a really cool tiny dexterity game that, of course, fits in your pocket.
It's, really great. This was another big hit at GenCon as well.
Yeah, they had a ton of new expansions and stuff like that there.
So the next prize pack, 2 lucky winners are going to get one of the Dragon Shield Spell Codex books. This is a binder that lets you keep, if you have spell cards for D&D, role-playing games, things like that, but feel free to put what you want in them. We have it in light and dark, and then we've got some dragon skin dice bag and a set of Chessex dice that match. So you get the light package and then you get the darker package. So finally, the next package, and this is going to go to 2 lucky winners. We've got the Dragon Shield Sanctuary slipcase binder and some Spectrum playmats.
Yeah, so this is the new binder that just came out from Dragon Shields. They were showing them off at Gen Con. It's a fantastic looking binder. I like the slipcase for it because it really holds everything in nicely. We actually have our Marvel Zombies collection in ours because we have, 150,000 playable characters for that game. So it'll hold whatever you put in there. You can use just regular card sleeve or card holder pages for it. That will fit right in there, so you can use it to store your Magic collection, Pokemon, any card games that you have, or honestly, whatever you want to fit in that binder.
So that's it, our 8 prize packs that we are giving away. Now, I'm sure all of you are asking the same question. Where did you steal all this stuff from?
No, that's the wrong question.
That's not it? Okay.
No.
Oh, wait. Sorry. How do I get the stuff that you have?
Yes.
So it's going to be really easy. First of all, the rules. You have to be 18 to enter. I'm sorry. That's just the safest thing for us. You have to be in the United States. And from there, you need to go to our Instagram or our Facebook page, and you're going to find the post. This post that talks about the giveaway. You need to comment, and that's it. We want you to tell us what your favorite game is, whether it's a TTRPG, whether it is a board game, whether it is something that you had played at some time with a friend with the sticks. Tell us what your favorite game is, and then tell us the person that you would like to play that with. Once you do that, you're entered. And of course, if you want to share, we would absolutely appreciate it, but absolutely not required. So the contest is going to run through October the 4th, 30 days. After that, we're going to draw the winners, completely chosen at random, and we will notify the winners. The 8 winners are going to be notified in the order that they were picked, and they will get the opportunity to pick the prize pack that they want.
All right, so the first winner that gets chosen will have the opportunity to take whatever pack they want. And then as we work down the list of winners, unfortunately, if you're number 8, you just squeaked in, you're going to get the prize pack that's left.
But we're going to sweeten that up a little bit because everybody's going to get some Dapper Meeple pins.
Because who doesn't love Dapper Meeple pins?
We've tried them out at GenCon for 2 years now, and everybody. The answer is everybody loves the Dapper Meeple pins. So there it is, guys. The video will be out on our Instagram and our Facebook. There'll also be a video on TikTok because we're trying new stuff. So you get a good look at the prizes. As a matter of fact, if you go to our TikTok right now, search for The Dapper Meeple, we do have a preview up, and you can see what we're offering to give away. Remember, you have to go to Instagram or Facebook to make the comment to enter. We are looking forward to seeing how many people go in for this one, and really excited about being able to ship this stuff out once this contest is over. So that's it. That is our first show of season 3. And thank you guys for coming back. Thank you if you're a new listener. Hey, if you're an artist, if you're a game designer, if you own a game shop, if you're like, hey, I like these guys and I would want to talk to them, reach out, send us a message. dappermeeplegaming@gmail.com is our email. You can also reach us on any of our social media. We check those pretty regularly, but we'll definitely get back to you. We would love to have more guests. Like we say, community is what this is all about. So yeah, with that, for the Dapper Meeple, I'm Jim.
And I'm Josh. Good night, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for sticking around and listening to our show.
If you enjoyed it, let me ask you a favor. Follow us and leave a like wherever you get your podcasts. It'll really help us out.
And if you have anything to say back to us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for The Dapper Meeple. Or you can email us at dappermeeplegaming@gmail.com.
And as always, we'll save you a seat at the table.